welcome to Star Citizen and the preview of version 3.13. Today we take a look at a new addition to rock mining, or maybe it's not really a new addition at all. The Greycat ROC DS is a larger and more advanced version of the previous Greycat ROC with a few differences. The DS is designed for 2 crew members, has 3 axles with 6 individual suspensions as well as a mining laser. The cargo capacity is 2 SCU, which is more than double, and the components are the same as in the normal ROC. The driver has an enclosed cabin in the DS, which unfortunately was not granted to the mining operator. And according to the available information, some questions do arise. What is the ROC DS intended for? What is its purpose? Is the DS an April Fool's joke and disappearing from the PTU? At least the ROC DS is already almost 10 months old and is a discarded concept, with the current standard ROC being preferred at the time. But more details on that later. Objectively, several points stand out. There are no Greycat logos, the color scheme is plain white with no major brandings as on the standard ROC. The mining operator seat looks very rudimentary and is on the outside, so it's unprotected compared to the driver. The DS therefore doesn't look quite final to me. Most of the components used are from the standard ROC or are already used elsewhere. The new ROC DS is an enlarged version of the ROC. It is a bit wider, has more ground clearance, 1 axle more and more cargo space. Everything else is identical to the ROC. The mining equipment is designed for the same stones and the DS can't crack larger materials either. Here we have a second crew member who is either bored when the operator is mining or bored when the driver is doing his job. So what's the point of the DS? But we already have a guess as to what the only really sensible use of the ROC DS might be at the present time. But for this we have to take a closer look at the DS and especially at the mining operator seat, since the control center interior fittings are identical to those of the standard ROC. The new mining outrigger has a big advantage over the standard ROC that should not be underestimated. The seat itself is more than rudimentary and rather minimalist. It is very compact and is not a visual revelation, but its dimensions and position make it an interesting concept. And this is noticeable as soon as you sit down. The operator is attached to the joint of the mining arm and has an enormous range in terms of the areas it can cover. The key point here is not the swivel range to the sides, but rather the range that we can cover upwards. We can almost shoot energy vertically upwards with the laser. But what for? The materials are on the ground and that doesn't do us any good. And exactly at this point we are at our guess for the purpose of the ROC DS: cave mining. The new caves are also implemented in 3.13 and the different sizes greatly expand the range. And in a large cave it would make sense to find more rock minerals hanging from the ceiling or on walls or rocks, which we would not be able to reach with a normal ROC. Here the minimalist equipment of the operators would also fit, so that they can use the maximum overview and range. The increased ground clearance, good acceleration, and a high speed also suit longer vehicle-heavy mining excursions. For normal rock mining, on the other hand, we think it is less worthwhile to use the ROC DS, especially if you are traveling in pairs. Here you have a much higher yield if you use 2 standard ROCs, as you have to use a transport ship for the DS anyway, in which 2 standard ROCs also fit. And our minimum recommendations for the ROC DS transport we'll look at here. The smallest ship in which the ROC DS fits is the Freelancer Max. The Cutlass series or the standard Freelancer are out of the question, because even with force and momentum you can't get the DS in here. Even more pleasant and our recommendation is the Mercury Starrunner, which has still enough space for a standard ROC. Other ships with a loading ramp such as the Valkyrie are also recommended. And since the Constellation series still has problems loading vehicles safely with the lift, I would avoid lift for the time being. That still leaves access to the 2 SCUs. All through here again we can load the material into our ship via crates, and the 2 SCUs only make sense when we are not near our ship. In caves, for example. But as mentioned, something from the past about the ROC DS.
One of the biggest challenges for making a ground-based mining vehicle is making a vehicle that can actually fit in another ship.
So there was a lot of back and forward on different designs of where the player could get.
And here we see that the ROC DS is definitely nothing new, and the design has been adopted one by one, including this simple white color without logos.
How much you could actually mine.
I hope you liked the video and give me a like and a subscribe here. The new ROC DS is definitely an interesting vehicle, but the question arises as to its purpose. Because if we don't really have a separate gameplay loop for the new ROC, which requires it, then we are usually better off with the normal standard ROC, especially since we are then not dependent on the increased cargo capacity and can continue to create unlimited crates. But here I'm curious about your opinions and comments. What do you think about the ROC DS? But the most important thing at the end, a big thank you to all Patreons, channel members and subscribers on Twitch. Without you, the whole thing wouldn't be possible in this form, and you are a really strong motivation. Thank you guys, you definitely rock. And of course there will be various giveaways, ships, subscriber flares and other things like millions of UAC in game. How to get there? You can just read in the video description or drop by in the Discord. I wish you all good luck. I say goodbye, until next time, and as always, see you in the verse.